செரி குருவரன் சிற்கையன் உவகையோர் உருவன் தன்னுள் ஒருவன் இல்லை உருவன் உவகையோர் உருவன் தன்னுள் உவப்பவன் கழிமூகத்தன் அவனையான் தென்பான் மூர்த்தி அப்பனை ஏத்துவோமே உலகு கண்ணாடியூர் நேர் உரத்தனுள் அஞ்ஞானத்தால் வெளியினில் துயிர் கனா போல் விளங்கிட கண்டு ஞான நிலையுறு நேரம் தன்னை ஒருவனாயவனே காண்பன் தலையுறு குருவாமந்த தக்ஷிணாமூர்த்தி போற்றி தலையுறு குருவாமந்த தக்ஷிணாமூர்த்தி போற்றி. This is Dakshinamurti Stotram, translated into Tamil by Bhagavan. Now we shall go into the text. Hastamalakam. So we shall first read what Adi Shankara asked that Balagan. இங்கு நீ இங்குரு நீயார் பிள்ளாய் யாருடை மைந்தன் நீதான் எங்கு செல்கின்றாய் உன் பேர் என்ன நீ எங்கிருந்து இங்கு வந்தன என் உள்ளம் இன்புற இசைப்பா என்று சங்கரன் நவிலப்பாலன் சாற்றிட வாய் திறந்தான் நரநலன் சுரணியக்கண் நானலன் அந்தனன் மற்று அரசனும் வணிகன் சூத்ரன் அல்லனர் பிரம்மச்சாரி கிரகியும் வானப்பிரத்தன் கேடகள் சந்நியாசி நிறையினில் ஆறும் அல்லேன் நிசபோத வடிவனாமே சூரியன் சகத்தொழிற்கு சொற்றிடும் நிமித்தமென்ன ஆருளம் சச்சுவாதி ஆட்டத்திற்கேதுவாவன் ஆரெலாம் உபாதியும் விட்டு ஆகாயம் போலிருப்பன் ஓரிய நித்த சித்த உருவனாமவான்மானான். So Sri Shankara asked that boy, Appa, who are you? What is your name? Who are your parents? From where are you coming? What are you doing here? And where are you going? So please tell me. So then the Balagan started. He said, I am not a human being. The first word itself, Naranalan, I am not a human being. Are you Devadi Devas? No, I am not a Deva. I am not a Yaksha. I don't belong to any of these Chatur Varnam, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Or I don't belong to any of these ashrama, Brahmacharya, Grahasti, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. Then who are you then? Means Nirayinil Arumallen. I am not all these. Nisabodha Vadivanami. I am the true knowledge within, shining as I in the heart. Nisabodha Vadivanami. So, can come only from a very exalted, pure heart. Nisabodha Vadivanami. I am that true knowledge which is shining as I in the heart. And as the sun is considered to be the nimitta karanam, the cause for the worldly activities, though he is not having any kartrutva abhimanam, similarly, I also, in my presence, everything happens. All the senses, the mind, everything functions in the world outside. Arelam upadiyam vittu ahayam poliruppan. And I remain as the akasha, this space, leaving aside all the upadis. Oriya nitta siddha uruvanam. Means Oriel, I am of the nature of one. Nitta siddhan, ever liberated. Nitta siddhan. Nitta siddha uruvanam avvanmanan. I am that self. So, in which everything happens, but not touched by anything. That is the self. Yeriyadu vemmai pola evan nitta bodha rupa oruvana. Oh, fourth, okay. So till third we have studied. Fourth also we have started, but still we will read once again. Yeriyadu vemmai. Wait, 1 minute. Inguru niyar pilla yeriyadu vemmai pola yavanitta bodha rupa oruvanai kambam indri olirdarum yavanai sarnde arivila karanam indri ஆதிதன் தொழின்மேற் செல்லும் அறிவுரு நித்த சித்த நாயுள அவ்வான்மானா. So yesterday we started this, today we will continue. Yeriyadu vemmai pola, like the heat and the fire. Like the heat and the fire, the light of consciousness and the pure consciousness cannot be separated. Pola, evan nitta bodha rupan. I am the nitta bodha rupan. I am of the nature of the knowledge. Oruvanai kampam indri. I have no movement. Kampana means shaking. I have no movement in me. Olirdarum yavanai sarnde arivila karanam indriyadi than tolirmeit chellum. So, taking this light as adharam, Yavanai charnde means taking refuge with this light of Atma Chaitanyam, all the inert senses and the mind, they function in their respective fields. See, Olidarum Yavanai charnde. See, he is, means what? The Atma Chaitanyam alone is the source of all light. So, Olidarum Yavanai sarnde, depending on him, all the other. Arivila means inert. Arivila. They don't have knowledge of their own. Arivila, karanam. Karanam means antakaranam, the mana buddhi, etc. And indriyadi, the senses, etc. Tan tolilmeit chellum. They function in their respective fields. Meaning the eyes, they see, ears, they hear, mind, they imagine, they think. So all these things can happen only since I am there. Taking refuge in my light or depending on my light, all these indriyas and mana, they are enlivened so that they can function in the field, in the respective fields. So that is my nature. So my Swarupam is the existence and then the knowledge. When this knowledge reflects in the buddhi, it comes out as Chidabhasa, reflected consciousness. So taking the refuge of that light, the senses and mind, they function. Please understand. So that is why he is saying the reflected consciousness is the same as the consciousness, like the heat and the fire. It is inseparable. Do you understand? So depending on me, borrowing the light of Atma Chaitanyam, all these inert mind and senses, they function in their respective fields. Arivuru Nitta Siddhanayula Avvanmanan. Arivuru means what? That pure knowledge, Nitta Siddha, ever liberated, that Swarupam I am. Anmanan. That pure Swarupam I am. So, in the first verse, he has negated all the upadhis, saying, I am Naranalan. I am not the human, not the Devadi Devas, not any of these higher beings. And in this world, I don't belong to any of the Varna, any of the Ashrama. I am Nisabodha Vadivan. I am the pure knowledge. What is that pure knowledge? The pure knowledge is responsible for the eyes and the mind to function in their respective field. Like the sun is responsible for the worldly activities. But why he is referring to sun as Nimitta Karanam? Because sun doesn't have the Kartrutva Abhimana, that he is pumping light to the world. Because he is of the nature of light. In his presence, everything happens. Similarly, I don't have any Kartrutva Abhimana that I am now helping the senses and mind to function. No. He is there, borrowing his light, everything is happening. Taking refuge at his feet, all the senses and mind, they as though function in their respective fields. This is what he is trying to explain. So without Atma Chaitanyam, nothing ever moves, and no knowledge is possible, and no life is possible here. Imagine if there is no knowledge, how can you live? See, even whatever you see is a knowledge. Here is a knowledge. Is that not so? His eyes cannot see, ears cannot hear, mind cannot feel. Then he is not even called as a dead. You know, he is worse than that. So therefore, the Atma Chaitanyam is the source of all light, all power, all knowledge. So that I am. Meaning, we should say that I am. All of us are of the same nature, nature of that pure consciousness. So that is our true nature. Now, expanding the thought in the fourth verse, now he is saying, Attattirpadipalita Ammuha muhattin veror Vattu anradu por buddhi Varusita bhasa sivan Varusida bhasa sivan Siddhuru vevveraha Sidduruve avanveraha Siridumor vattu ahad Advaya nitta siddha Ayula avvanmanan Attattirpadipalita Ammuha muhattin veror Vattu adubor buddhi Varusida bhasa sivan Siddhuruve vanveraha Siridumor vattu aha Advaya nitta siddha Nayula avvanmana Attattir pradipalita. Atta means mirror. Attatil pradipalitta. Ammuham. Muham means the face which is reflected in the mirror. Muhattin veror vattu andrathu pol is not different from the original face. Is that not so? That face which is reflected in the mirror is not something other than the original face. Is it not so? So, if you see the face in the mirror, you can even adjust something in your face, right? So, means what? It is the same. It is only reflected. Similarly, what he is trying to say is, Buddhi varu siddhabhasa sivan. Buddhi varu means that light which is reflected in the buddhi. Buddhi varu siddhabhasa. He is called a siddhabhasan. See, abhasan means who is not the same, who is reflected. Abhasam we say, na? So, this light which is reflected in the buddhi, he is called as jiva. Or the ahamkara, the I, small I. So, he is trying to say here, this small I or the jiva is not something other than the original I, the swarupa. So, he is trying to say, buddhi varu siddhabhasa sivan sitturuvu and veraha siridumor vattu ahadu. He is not something different from the original self. Now, the idea is, when you see the mirror, you see the face reflected in the mirror. That face is what? Is actually reflection of the original face. So, that reflection is not different from the face. Is that not so?
Yes.
Similarly, even the Chidabhasan, who is reflected in the buddhi, that light which is reflected in the buddhi is not something other than the original light or the original swarupa. So, it means,
You mean pure consciousness?
Yeah, pure consciousness. So, it means the jiva or the I which is rising and which is falling, the ego I, is not something different from the real self. That is what he is trying to establish here. Therefore, when you inquire who am I and try to go within, the real I is revealed, because this I and that I, they are only one difference. This I is limited because of the body mind. That I, no association with the body mind, so it is unlimited. So, Pillavu patta unarvinilai, Pillavu padada unarvinilai. In Tamil they say. Pillavu patta means, in this small I, it is divided into I versus rest. But in the pure I alone, there is nothing called as versus rest. Because there is I alone. So only with the identification of the body mind, you see a world other than you. When you leave the body aside and when you dive deep within, you see only the pure consciousness. So this I which is rising and falling, the ego I, is not something other than the original I. See, is your shadow something other than your body? Same. Is it not so? If you are fat, the shadow also reflects you. Is that not so? If you are very lean and very tall, the shadow also same. Is it not so? Similarly, this I is like a shadow of the self. Like the pradibimba, the reflected face in the mirror. That is not other than the face. Pratibhasik satta and satta. Exactly. That is the Vedantic term. That is the Vedantic term. Pratibhasika satta. That reflected consciousness. That actually is not other than the real self. The original self. That is what is the idea now. So, Siridumor Vattu Ahad means this reflected self is not anything of its own. See, it always depends on the original self. See, this face reflected in the mirror, it is not a substance of its own. It always depends on the original face. If you remove the face, there is no face there. Is that not so? Similarly, this I is not independent Vastu. It is nothing but the reflected consciousness. Therefore, it is consciousness only.
Even though
It is
form of the original.
Form of the original, and also it has no existence of its own. Always it borrows the existence from the original. That is what he's trying to drive the point here.
Pratibimba from Bimba.
Huh? Bimba and Pratibimba. Yeah. Exactly, you are using all the technical terms. Bimba and no, not Chandra and Surya. That is different. Not Chandra and Surya, please, because that is two different things. Only the light is borrowed, but there are two different things. Here, the reflection is same, actually the same. So Bimba and Pratibimba, that is a technical term. Now don't please, because after this session we will discuss. Bimba and Pratibimba. So what he is saying is Advaya Nidda Siddhanayulla Avvanmanan. So Advaya means non-dual. Nitta Siddhanayulla, ever liberated, Avvanma Nan. I am that self. So what he is saying is this reflected consciousness depends always on the original consciousness. It is not different from the original consciousness. So that original consciousness I am, not this reflected. See, we tend to take this reflected consciousness to be ourselves, this ego sense, that to be ourselves, which is identified with the body mind, to be ourselves. But he says, though this ego self is always dependent on the original self, it is just a reflection, but still I am not that, I am this original self I am, Avanmanan, that Anmanan. Now suppose, let us say, you break the mirror. What happens to the reflected face? The reflected face goes back to the original face, can you say? Only the original face shines. If you destroy the mirror, there is no reflected face, the original face shines. Can you say the reflected face has gone back into the original face? You cannot say, because the reflected face itself is not a substance by itself. It is just an appearance. If you touch the face, then you cannot touch the face. You can touch only the mirror. You cannot touch the face there. You cannot feel the face. Here you can feel the face, skin. But in the mirror, if you touch, can you touch the face? You can touch only the mirror. So it is not a vastu by itself. It is only an appearance. So when the mirror is broken, you don't find any reflected face, but only the face remains. Similarly, when the buddhi is destroyed means what? Transcended. When the mind intellect is transcended, then the Chidabhasan goes. Like the reflected face goes away. The Chidabhasan disappears. And what remains is the original self. That is what he is going to say in the next verse. How beautifully he is explaining, see? With this example, how beautifully he is explaining. And he has not studied anything, Hastamalaka, in this Janma at least, like Bhagavan only. No pravritti, he was always like a muda, fool. He was not playing with his schoolmate or with his friends, schoolmates. He has not gone to school also, maybe. And he is not having any likes or dislikes, nothing. And he has not studied anything. Straight away he gives out the highest. Attame illaiyahil Ammuha basamindru Vattuvayutra deha Vadaname viharpa mindri Buddhi attidave yavan Polivanam pasamindri Bhasamindri Attira Nitta Siddha Ayula Avvanmana Attame illaiyahil Ammuha basamindru Vattuvayutra dega Vadaname viharpa mindri Buddhi புத்தியற்றிடவே யாவன் பொலிவனாபாசமின்றி அத்திர நித்த சித்த நாயுள அவ்வான்மானா. How beautiful. See, attame illayahin. Atta means the mirror. Even if the mirror itself is not there, let us say it is destroyed, it's not there. Ammuha basam indru. Ammuha abasam. The reflected face is not there. Ammuha abasam indru. Then what else remains? Vattuvayutradu eha vadaname viharpam indri. So, eha, not deha, it is eha. It has to be split as Vattuvayutradu eha vadaname. So, what remains as the substance, real thing, is the original face. Vattuvayutradu eha vadaname viharpam indri, without any modification. Any modification. Similarly, buddhi attridave, when the inner instrument, that is the manabuddhi, if it is transcended, or it is destroyed, or it is made still, when the thoughts are transcended, buddhi attridave yavan polivanam abhasamindri. So I shine without this abhasam, meaning what? Without the reflected eye, that is the small eye, without the ego sense, without the ahambhava. So this reflected eye, is it going back to the eye? Is the reflected face going back to the original face? No. Similarly, this reflected eye is not merging or going back into the original eye. That is not there, that disappears. Because that is there only because of the buddhi. When the buddhi is transcended, it is not. Then what remains? Like the original face, the self only remains here as the self. How beautiful. So, as long as the mind is there, awake, functioning, then the Chidabhasan is seen. And we consider ourselves to be Chidabhasan. How unfortunate. And for the Chidabhasan, all Sukha-Dukkha is there. And this birth, death, rebirth, everything is there. One step behind, when you have transcended the mind and intellect, then you don't find any Chidabhasan. And not only you don't find any Chidabhasan, you find only the self. And now, please be careful. Please be careful. This Chidabhasan is the light in which all the other things are illumined. For example, our Shastras say the sunlight, when you keep a sort of a mirror outside, it is reflected inside the room. Is it not so? So with that light you see the objects here. Let us say other doors are closed. So only with that light you see. When that mirror is broken, when there is no light, that reflected light, can you see the objects here? So when the Chidabhasan goes, then no object is seen. Only through the light of Chidabhasan, the world and everything is seen, experienced. With the knower, the ahankara ego only, the known is experienced. When the ahankara ego itself is not there because the antakarana is transcended, then you won't see any world of names and forms. Then there is only the self that shines as I. Think about it. So as long as the buddhi, the manabuddhi is there, antakarana is there, then see, immediately there is the reflection. There is no time lag and all. It is not like that. With the antakarana, then there is the reflection. When there is reflection, there are senses, there is mind, there is world, there is experience, everything. There is samsara, everything is there. When the mind is transcended, the Chidabhasan himself goes. When the Chidabhasan goes, the source of all thoughts goes. All the thoughts goes. So, with the destruction of the Chidabhasan, everything else goes. Only the true self shines. So that Nitya Siddha Swarupanam Anmanan, I am that self. See, you know what Nisargadatta says, Nisargadatta Maharaj says, this I which rises as Nan, that is like a pen that draws the world, that draws the Ulaga Sittiram, something called as world. How beautiful the analogy. Analogy is not, it's truth. With that light only everything is illumined. So he is saying, this I, it rises and it creates the world. This I is there because there is Antakarana and the reflected consciousness. When the Antakarana is transcended, when the mirror is broken, when the mind is transcended, there is no I to draw a world. When there is no I, there is no world. Only when I comes in the waking and dream, there is world. There is experience of world. When the I is not there in the deep sleep, there is no world. But wait, Swamiji. For me, there is no world, but others are seeing the world. But the others are also coming only when you wake up. You hear from others that there were others who are seeing the world. That is part of your waking knowledge. It is not part of your deep sleep experience. Please understand, this is a very subtle point you have to catch. If you are a very scientific minded person, the others who are watching the world when you are asleep is not your deep sleep experience. It is your waking experience, waking knowledge. Somebody is coming and telling you in the waking state. So he is also part of the waking state, dream state, part of it. So therefore, this is all mysterious. This is all absolutely mind-boggling. Mind-boggling, what's that?
Mind-boggling.
Mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling. Why? Only with the rise of the I, there is world. When the I is not, there is no world. Then what remains? The pure self shines. Meaning pure self-awareness. Awareness, I am irikkiren, I am. That alone shines. And that is bliss, because there is nothing in it other than it. So when there is nothing to restrict it, limit it, that is bliss. You cannot measure it in terms of space or time. It is everywhere. If you say, you are only referring to space. Space is born out of this mind, which is born out of Atma. So you cannot refer the Atma with the parameter called the space. So it is ever present. Now you are using the parameter of time. Time is born from the mind, which is born from the Atma. So with the time parameter, you cannot measure the self. So only you can say is beyond space and time. You cannot even say everywhere, ever present. It is just there. It is beyond senses and words. It is imperishable. It is infinite. Infinite means what? There is nothing to divide it or make it kanda. It is infinite. It is bliss. And there is no beginning or no end. No middle even. It is just bliss. Huh? So it is bliss. So therefore, as long as the Antakarana, the mind is there is this reflection, Chidabhasan, the Jiva is there, the ego sense is there. As long as the ego sense is there, it creates the world and it suffers in the world. When the Antakarana is transcended, there is no Jiva Bhavana, there is no world, there is no experience, there is only that self. This is Bhagavan's core teaching. Swamiji, 1 minute. Bhagavan has destroyed his mind, right? Yes. So he is always abiding in self, right? Yes. So from his standpoint, there is nobody else, right? Yes. Then how is he able to see people? Interact with people? How is he able to do it? This is the real mystery. Nobody can answer. Only when you realize the self, you will understand what it is. Nobody else can answer this question. So it's a very genuine question. If you say Bhagavan is a realized soul, he has transcended his body mind, then there is no Chidabhasan, there is no world. So he is abiding only in the self. Then how is he interacting with the world? When I go in front of him, he recognizes me, he talks to me nicely. How is it possible? This is the mystery.
Because they are treated two separate entities, right?
No. Don't give any explanation because it is beyond. You cannot explain it through buddhi. Wait. You cannot explain it through buddhi. We will discuss it after the class. It cannot be explained through buddhi. That's it. Full stop. Only when you experience it, you will know what it is. And you will also say, yeah, that is right. But now, from the standpoint of buddhi, howsoever you try to, understand or put it into a box, you cannot put it into a box. You cannot. That is why Bhagavan, when people ask him about the Siddha Purushas, so what is his experience? He will always say, what is your problem? You mind your experience. Are you there? Yes, I am there. Then inquire, who am I? And abide in the self. Then you will know everything. So why are you worried about Siddha Purusha's experience? You worry about your experience, meaning yourself. So Bhagavan will not allow anybody to speculate anything about this ultimate experience. Because when you speculate, it is only a speculation. It is only from the platform or the base of the mind and intellect. Limited. So it is already said through senses and mind you cannot imagine, understand. So therefore, Bhagavan never entertains such question. What is the experience of Siddha Purusha? Why are you worried? Let it be anything. Is it your experience? No. Then you inquire, who am I? And find out. And then everything is revealed to you. The secret is revealed to you. So only through the personal experience, aparoksha anubhuti, the truth is revealed. Otherwise, this missing link is always there. How? When you say that the world disappears, still how the world they are experiencing, blah, 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 blah. And in Ramana Gita, Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni, he is trying to explain. But still is only an explanation. Though you understand, you will never understand. Only through experience, you will understand. Only through experience, you understand how it is. So this is a very sacred knowledge. Imagine when all the other fellows were living in caves, I am talking about thousands of years back, our rishis, munis have realized this self, the truth, absolute. And they have given all this. Now only these fellows have waken up and then they have done some experiment and found out something in this world and they are proclaiming, we are scientists and we are intellectuals, we know everything, blah, 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 blah. After knowing everything, you should live peacefully or not, happily or not. Are you living peacefully and happily? No. There is more confusion, there is more dukkha, more turmoil. Then what is your science? What is use of your science? Yes, I get some physical comfort. If you switch on, the fan is on. Some physical comfort you get, that is all okay in a relative world. But when these fellows were without any clothes, living in the caves, our rishis have found this truth. And they have expressed it in a beautiful language. That is our culture, that is our parambaryam, heritage. Please don't forget about it. We have the audacity to say all these people are fools. All my forefathers were fools, idiots. And I am very intelligent because I have got Google in my hands. What can Google give you? Only information, not wisdom. It can mislead you totally. It will throw everything. And you have to choose. You don't know where to choose, what to choose. So what I mean to say, this is the absolute knowledge. And there is nothing more to know. You know why? Because there is nobody to know. The Chidabhasa, the knower himself is gone. So when the knower is gone, what else to be known? So there cannot be any higher knowledge because simply there the knower disappears. who will be knowing then? There ends the knowledge. So that is absolute. So this Hastamalaka, a very young fellow, he is revealing the highest truth. Just like that to Acharya Shankara. Imagine how Acharya Shankara would have felt. Stunned. அவன் குருவை மிஞ்ச சிஷ்யனாக இருப்பான் போல இருக்கே அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு he would have been stunned. So what is the time now? Shall we see one more? We will chant the next one and we will stop. மனச்சச்சு ஆதியோடு மறுவிடாதிருப்பன் யாவன் மனச்சச்சு ஆதிகட்கு மனச்சச்சு ஆதியாவன் மனச்சச்சு ஆதியாலே மறுவிடப்படாதான் யாவன் அனித்தமில் நித்த சித்த நாயுள அவ்வான்மானான். See, mana chachu means, manam means mind, chachu means chakshu, eyes, etc., senses. Adi means senses. Mana chachu adiyodu marividadiruppan. See, even though he is responsible for the senses and mind to act, but he is something different from the senses and mind. Manachachu adiyodu marividadiruppan means onnara kalandra maatan avan. He doesn't become one with the mind and chakshu. He is vilakshanam. At the same time, manachachu adigatku manachachu adiyavan. He is the mind of the mind, senses of the senses, because in his light all these senses and mind, they are functioning. That is the second point. Third point, manachachu adiyale maruvidappadadavan yavan. With the senses and mind, they cannot know him. With the senses and mind, they cannot know him. Means he is there, that is why senses and mind are functioning. So therefore he is called as the mind of the mind, eye of the eye, ear of the ear. Since because he is functioning through the eyes and ears, he will not become eye and ear. He is vilakshanam. Separate. He is distinctly different from the senses and mind. At the same time, the senses and mind can never know him, can never reach him. That is his glory. Nitta, anittamil nitta siddhan means adiyum andamilla, means without beginning and end, ever present. That nitta siddhanayula avanmanan. I am that self. So we will see it in detail tomorrow and then we shall proceed. Om Purnamadha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudhachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Right. So today